and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional. I'm your host, Sandy Lowres, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly brought to us by WB40, Women Beyond 40, a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond. And now, on top of our beautifully curated WB40 magazine in print and digital, we're now offering you a little bit of extra. You can subscribe to WB40 Extra now for a little bit of extra in your life at WB40.com. Today in the confessional, I'm actually really pumped to be speaking to our guest, Eve Mizzi, who is the founder and head organiser at Ducks in a Row Home Organisation. As a self-confessed organising nerd, I am super excited to be talking to Eve today. Home organisation is very much in vogue, and so I'm really happy to have Eve here to share with us some of her hints and tips on home organisation and how it can change people's lives. Please welcome to the confessional, Eve Mizzi. Hello, Eve, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional. How are you today?
Hi, Sandy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I am so excited to be talking with you today because as we were chatting just before off screen that I am a little bit of an organisational nerd. I'm a little bit mad for things like the Home Edit and Get Organised, now streaming on Netflix. And and Marie Kondo is a big thing now. So I wanted to ask you, how did you found Ducks in a Row Home Organising? How did it all come about?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Home Edit because Ducks in a Row was actually birthed via Netflix and via the Home Edit. About January last year, I officially started. So probably the end of 2020, I was watching Get Organised with the Home Edit. Which I highly recommend to anyone, by the way. Season 2 just came out and it's awesome.
Oh, me too. I've binged it already. Yeah. So great.
And I sort of was like, oh, this is a job. And I just decided to give it a go.
I love that. And so where did the name come from? Because it's the cutest name ever.
Oh, thank you. I was actually tossing up between the Home Organiser or Ducks in a Row. The Ducks in a Row, it was just something that came to mind. I liked the play on words. I thought it was really funky, but I also have a little bit of a marketing background. So I thought, for search and all that, something like the Home Organiser would be, potentially easier to find online. And I'm part of a few online business groups, and I just put a poll out and just as well as gut feel. And I was just like, I've got it. It was about 50-50 on the polls as well, so it didn't actually happen at all. For the same reason, some people were like, "Oh, I love the Ducks in a Row name," and other people were like, "Oh, but for search," And thankfully, we haven't had too many issues being found. So I'm glad that I went with Ducks in a Row.
Oh, I love it. I thought it was a quirky, gorgeous name. So I think I'm glad you went with Ducks in a Row. I really liked it. And, I guess we do have listeners here who tune in from the US and other parts of the world as well. So I should say, in case they're not aware of it, Ducks in a Row is kind of, a term for getting organised.
Yes. Yeah, getting your ducks in a row, getting everything lined up. Yeah.
I love it because it just did occur to me that not everyone would probably get the terminology, but I love it. I think it's fantastic. So had you always been someone who wanted things to be neat, orderly, organised?
Definitely not.
I love that.
My parents, when I first started this, thought it was hilarious because growing up, I was the kid who, if, they'd say, all right, before you can go out with your friends, you need to clean up your room. And to me, that meant shoving everything into the wardrobe and under the bed and then being like, done. That was my version of organised. But as I got older, in business, I found when I had different corporate careers, digitally, I liked to be quite organized in how I keep my email and my desktop and those kind of things. I had a few roles where I was organizing events. And so I found that I did enjoy organizing really in any area. And then when I started living alone, I got a bit house proud. And so that's where I started getting into the actual home organization.
I love that. And I think it does tend to happen because, I've watched it with my own kids, and I know like when you first go out and you get your own place, it's very different when mum's not picking up after you or dad or whomever. But yeah, it's really, I think it's just become such a wave, such a movement now all of a sudden. Shows, as we said, like the Home Edit, Marie Kondo. Do you think because of shows like that, it's just brought it to the forefront of people's minds? People are starting to think about how to get more organised?
For sure. Definitely those shows, and also social media as well. Having like TikTok and Reels, those quick videos, and it's kind of, I guess, adjacent to your interior design kind of thing as well. So when people are flicking through and liking interior design things on Reels, it's very easy for the algorithm to be like, oh, if you like this, maybe you'll like this. And it's something to do with home organizing. And then, people are intrigued and they think, oh, what is this? And kind of rabbit hole from there.
And while it looks beautiful, as you say, when you see the reels, and I've seen TikTok, and some of it just looks so beautiful and so beautifully curated, but it's more than just aesthetically pleasing, isn't it? Like it's more than just how it looks. So tell us how this changes people's lives.
Yeah, it's definitely a process for sure that we go through to make sure that it's functional as well, which I think is the key, because you can have a pantry that looks amazing but is actually really hard to get things in and out of. And so if you're not someone that's in the kitchen a lot, then that could be fine. But if you're cooking all the time, then that's, going to cause issues, and you're probably going to get frustrated in your area, whether it's, a kitchen or another room. So that functionality, I think, is really important as well. And that's where I think the profession of home organisation is something that can be really helpful, because not everybody understands how to make something functional. I think it is like an interior designer. There's someone who's kind of got these skills and talents and maybe done some study to learn how to do that. And yes, somebody else could go away and try to create a look in their home that they want, but it's not necessarily going to come out the same as if an interior designer did it for you. And so when you see these things online, I think there are so many people that are able to look at an organizing video or do a bit of research, and they can absolutely do that in their home. And there's other people that are like, I'm just not getting this, I need some help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think, it's great to go out to, I don't know, IKEA and Kmart and different places that have all these lovely tubs and baskets and things, and great. But if you don't have, which I am guilty of this as well, I'm not always great at this, is I think, oh yeah, that'll look fantastic in that space. And then I bring it home and it's all out of whack. Like the baskets are too big, or the things don't really fit. So I guess that's where you come in as a home organiser to actually help people work out, as you say, functional, beautiful, and I guess for me, the big benefit of organising is that you can always find things.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Accessibility, that functionality. I think it really does come down to the process, because like you said, a lot of our clients will do a similar thing to you, or they'll be out at IKEA or wherever they are, and they'll see something and go, oh, this looks great. And they get it, and they get home and it doesn't fit, or it doesn't fit the items that they wanted to put in it. And that's where the process of organising comes in. And most organisers have a process they follow that's usually displayed on their website as well. And even though it might vary a little bit depending on who the organiser is, it's generally the same process because that's what really works. So we follow what we call the dress code formula, which is decide, remove, establish, systems, and style. You can have a look on our website if you want to kind of dive into what each of those are. But that's a way to really ensure that you're going to get truly organized, because part of that is the planning phase with things like measuring before you buy. So rather than going to the shops and being like, being like, okay, I really like this thing. I'm going to mental note this, or I'm going to, pin this website as a bookmark of this product. Then I'm going to go home. I'm going to plan out what I'm going to put in here. I'm going to measure to make sure it's going to fit, and then, order it or go back and get it if need be.
Oh, I love that. And so who typically are your clients? I know that you're Melbourne based, but who typically are the types of people that would contact Ducks in a Row?
We probably have two main groups, I would say. The first is the family. The family who either have parents who are working, or one is working and one is at home, young kids, and they just don't have the time to do it, because a one room can take a whole day for an organizer to complete, and parents and corporate people don't have a whole day to sort through and really do it properly, so that it's maintainable. So families are definitely one of our core groups of people that we have come through to help. The other is we work with some NDIS clients as well, which is our National Disability Insurance Scheme. So that's a wide range of people. We've worked with a lot of women with MS. We've worked with people with Asperger's. It's a really broad range, and that adds another layer to it of how much we enjoy what we do, because with everyone, we know that we're helping them to be able to find what they need and reduce the time for them. But when you know that you're also assisting someone that has a physical limitation or something going on where that is assisting them on an even greater level than anybody else, it just feels so good to go away and know that you've impacted them so greatly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking about, as you were saying that, so my mum was in and out of a wheelchair due to polio. And I would think that, she used to organise cupboards so that certain things were actually down on that level when she was in the wheelchair, because she wasn't always sort of up and able and, mobile. So I think that's really interesting. And it's such a great help, I would imagine, to organise things so that it's functional and creates like a more livable space.
Yeah, and it helps us to keep our ideas flowing as well and thinking outside of the box, because with the families that we're helping, most kitchens, particular items have a particular placement that is generally the same. But when we're working with an NDIS client, they may have specific needs, like what you were saying with your mum, where it's like, well, actually, I know that this item usually goes here, but we actually need to put it somewhere else because that's what's going to be more accessible to them, and that's what's important. So it really helps keep those ideas flowing for us as well, different ways to do things.
Yeah, I love that. And so what would you say would be the most common rooms that people need help with in terms of home organisation?
Definitely the kitchen, for sure, and specifically the pantry.
Yeah.
I think this is because there are a lot of items that go into a pantry. So if there's no system established, it's really easy for it to get out of control.
Oh yeah. Like my pantry. I mean, I have a lot of, containers and they all match and it looks great. But it's very easy for the pantry to get out of control, as you say, especially when you're busy. And so this beautiful sort of organised thing becomes just shove it in and I'll deal with it later. Does that happen a lot?
We find so many pantries, it's just everything is in. When we arrive, there doesn't seem to be sort of places for anything in particular. And then people are rebuying a lot of food. So they'll have lots of packets of the same thing that they don't even realize they have. So there's that additional cost of it actually being disorganized where you're having to rebuy things that you already have. So getting some systems in place that are easily maintainable for that family can really, really help, because I think a lot of the things, especially online, a lot of the organisation you see is everything decanted into beautiful jars, and that can work really well for some families if that's something that they feel they're able to keep up with. But in other situations, it might just be that all of those items in their original packaging goes into a basket that's specifically for, say, baking, because that's easier for them to actually maintain long term. And it still looks great when you're looking in because everything's in the basket. But rather than kind of going down to that micro level of separating everything into separate new fancy containers, it doesn't always have to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine in the kitchen as well, because this is an area I struggle with, under the sink. So all of your cleaning products, like for me, I'm like, it doesn't matter what I do in there. It just always ends up as chaos. Is that one sort of area where people struggle with?
Definitely under the sink. And it's interesting because we find that there's actually certain products that we use all the time for under the sink. And so there is a way to be able to manage that. I'm happy to send through some as well for Australian listeners and viewers, because even Kmart has some great products that can fit under most sinks, because I know that a lot of them can have that pipe down there as well that can be a bit
true.
But there's definitely some easy solutions to, again, just contain the different sections of items so that it looks good, and then also everyone knows where to find everything. I just think when I think of disorganized under the sink, I think of like plastic bags everywhere.
Okay. You know, I used to be that person with a million plastic bags, but I have since learned how to actually fold plastic shopping bags into tiny little bits. I know, I'm very, very proud of myself, Eve. And so all of my plastic bags are actually separate from under the kitchen sink now, which is really great. But what I do find is, much like the pantry, I am guilty of buying additional cleaning products because I couldn't find something.
Yeah. So then getting those systems in place can definitely help, because you can see what you've got, and then it reduces that rebuying of stuff that happens. It's so common, the rebuying, when you can't see what you have and you're busy and you're in a rush and you just need something, so it just goes on the list.
Yeah, for sure. I tell you what I did do recently, which was really exciting because I didn't know how this would go, but I did actually organise, and I mean really organise, all of my bathroom drawers, and it has been a game changer. So I now have these, you know, cosmetic sort of little organising containers, and I can pull out the drawer and all of my makeup is where it should, you know, like it's right there and not shoved into a makeup bag, which is what I've been doing for years. And it's a game changer.
Yeah. Have you separated out like your eye makeup, your lip stuff, your everything? Yes, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
It does. And what it did allow me to do was realize how much stuff I have accumulated over so many years, and do like this big clean out of stuff that is probably, things go off, I'm sure. Things like, how many, mascaras have I kept? Which is ridiculous. They'd be out of date, and how many old lipsticks and all of these things. So it was a really good exercise in just cleaning out as well of stuff.
Yeah. I think the other one that I found has been super common has been the play area. Similar to the pantry, in that there tends to be a lot of items. But the other thing with the play area, especially with younger kids, is that as they're growing, they start to get into different types of toys. So you may set up a system for the toys that they have now, but then in 6 months or a year's time, they're playing with something else, or they've got a new hobby or a new activity that they're going to do. So it's something that needs a lot more thought if you want it to last. And then also just considering those different products that you can use to help as you transition into each of those phases.
Oh, yeah. Look, I raised 3 kids, and I can tell you over the years how many toys they had, the different phases that they go through for sure. But also, too, it's really, I'm sure, interesting when you have a family where there's different age groups. And so different age groups, so you still need to keep all of those toys. But I would imagine creating a system helps definitely with the cleaning up as well.
Yes. Yeah. And different age groups, and then also sometimes different kids, even if they're similar in age, depending on how they play. So we generally have a conversation with the parents around, how do your kids play? Are they the type of kid who wants to just play with the Barbie dolls for a while, and then when they're done, then they're going to go over to the cars and the monster trucks? Or are they the child who wants a little bit of everything, and it all becomes part of the game of having a little bit of a Lego and a little bit of this and a little bit of that? So those types of, the answers to those questions can really help us establish the systems that are going to work for them.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Well, you just took me back then. Lego. There's millions of Lego pieces, or Duplox. What are they called? Duplex blocks? And
Diplo?
Yes, those, whatever they are. I know it's the bigger type of Lego kind of, millions of those. But I had, 2 boys who were 10 years apart, a daughter in the middle. So what they were interested in as well was very different. But what I also remember from when they were little is they never want to get rid of anything. Children find it very hard to give up things.
Yes, they do. We actually have a system for that as well. So
oh, I love it.
When we're doing the decluttering, we speak to the parents about how their kids are with that and whether they want the kids to be involved or not. If we're having trouble getting rid of stuff, the solution that we recommend is to have a system where you put some of their toys in a tub and have it, say, in the garage or somewhere out of sight, out of the way, out of the room. And then you wait to see if they ask for any of those toys. Because especially with younger kids, we found that they will, when you show them something, they want to keep everything.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's out of sight, a lot of the time they don't even realize it's gone. And so then if they come to you and say, oh, Mum, where's my whatever toy, you can be like, oh, I might know where that is. The key is, do not show them where the box of toys is. Do not take them to the garage and say, oh, is it in here? Because then they want to have all the toys. But if you can sort of figure out what it is they're asking for and try to find it, that way that one thing can come back and then allow you to, keep it in the garage or wherever it is for, say, a month. If they haven't asked for any of it, you know that you can donate that entire box.
Oh, I love that. And I would imagine, so smart. I wish you'd been around when my kids were little. And I guess another area that's pretty, frustrating for people can be wardrobes, I'm guessing.
Yes. And the wardrobe one is interesting because I find this is the more simpler one to get organized, because you don't necessarily need a lot of product or anything like that to have it be organized. Some really simple things to do can be combining all of your categories of clothes. So the simple thing of putting all your t-shirts together, all your pants together, all your jackets together. In just doing that can make a really big difference on how the wardrobe looks. If you want to take it to another level, that's when I would recommend color coding as well, because again, it makes it look neater and more organized. And then there's just a few little folding hacks. I'll say one for jeans. It's the easiest to explain. Basically, when you have your jeans for a hanger, when you fold them over the hanger, have the straight side be the side that you can see, not the little crutch side, the little bum bit.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Have that at the back and have the straight side at the front. It's just a really straight line across the front, and it makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. And I'm guessing, like, would you separate things winter, summer? Like, you know I tend to keep all of my winters. I'm a bit of a scarf girl, and I keep all my winter scarves folded and in, baskets that sit at the top of my wardrobe during summer, for example.
Those things it's depending on space and how many items the client has will kind of establish whether or not we're going to separate. If we have room to have everything out, we'll have everything out. If we don't, that's when we'll definitely start talking about seasonal separations, whether it's in boxes, say the tops or bottoms of wardrobes, or maybe even in another room if there's a spare wardrobe, if need be, depends how many clothes we're working with. It's a really good idea. We do definitely separate seasonally. The only time we wouldn't is if we had the space to have everything out.
Oh, how divine would that be to have that much space? How lovely.
Yeah. I don't have that much space. I have seasonal wardrobe.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? And that's hence why I use baskets. I have like a really high shelf at the top of the wardrobe, and so stuff goes up there. Yeah, so I can make more room for the hanging space. I love that. So can I ask, what would be for those listening who won't have access to you, what are some of the top tips you can give them when they start thinking about home organising? They might be listening to this and thinking, oh, that's a huge job. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend following a process, whether it's our dress code formula process or another process that's online. There's heaps available. And as I said, most of them are quite similar in terms of what you're doing, and following that process, because it really does work, and allocating some time to be able to do that. I think a lot of projects can be started because you think, oh, I'll just spend an hour doing my whole wardrobe, and I'm telling you, your wardrobe is going to take longer than an hour. Have that realistic time frame in mind of maybe half a day, just to be able to go through that process properly and go from start to finish, because then when you are finished, you're able to see those results and feel that you've accomplished something. When you get halfway through something, or if you've got a few halfway things done, I know how it can make you feel a bit all over the place because you've kind of got half finished stuff everywhere. So definitely following a process for sure. The second one would be that organising and being organised is a practice. I know that a lot of us would like to think that it's a bit of a set and forget. Oh, I did it. It's done. But we do live in ever-changing lives, and that means that the organisational systems are going to need to be revisited. The good thing is there's definitely some systems that could work for years in particular rooms, and wouldn't need many tweaks. But then there are going to be other areas, especially families with young kids, where their clothes are changing, their toys are changing, and so there may be more attention than is needed in those areas. So going in with the mindset, knowing that it's a practice, I think can help you be okay with the little tweaks and changes that might need to be done along the way.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And case in point is my pantry, as I said. So when we moved into this house, it was beautifully organised. Everything looks great. And I realised, I get really busy and I just start shoving stuff in. Or worse, it's like I know where stuff goes, but maybe my partner doesn't, or my daughter who still lives at home doesn't. And so things just get put everywhere. And so you're right. I do think that it is a practice, and it also takes a lot of practice to follow those sort of systems, right?
Yeah, and finding the systems that work for you and your family, because that might not be the same as the systems that work for another family, or maybe if you're following an organizer on Instagram or whatever, and they're showing different ideas, and they're great for the people they're working with, but it might not be the best solution for you. So being able to and being open to playing around with the systems and getting the family involved as well to sort of be like, hey, we're in this together. I know it can be hard with smaller kids, but starting that conversation with them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it just does make life a lot easier. Like there's a saying that my kids often will say, it's not lost unless mum can't find it. And so I think, right, and I think that's true of most households. There's always somebody in the house who knows where everything is. But it really, I find for me, and it's a bit like, your desk, although you wouldn't want to look at mine right now, but when you have a really neat and organised desk, it's easier to concentrate. And I think for me personally at home, the more organised I can be, the easier it is for me to just get on with my very busy life.
Yeah, and true for all rooms, right? If you walk into your kitchen or walk into the living room, even just your entryway, having it be organised, that way when you walk in, you're not thinking, ugh, you're going, ah.
No, that is 100% true. Well, I, for one, would love if you can send us through some tips for under the sink, because that is my bugbear right now. I am super excited that you've been able to join us here today, and I look forward to sharing some of your beautiful tips and hints down the track in the WB40 magazine as well, because I'm loving what you're doing. I love that in Australia this is a wave as well. And in our show notes, Eve, we will put all the links to where people can find you if they're in Melbourne and they want to get in touch and they want their home organised. You've got an amazing team as well. So we'll put up all of those links. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy. It's been a pleasure.
I look forward to getting more organised.
Yes, I'll send those links as well.
Thanks so much, Eve.
No worries.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to you by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine. Available now at WB40.com. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to quality podcasts. We're also now available on YouTube. We chat with really interesting women about their hard-won wisdom, but it really helps us if you can subscribe, like, and share the podcast. Thanks so much for your support. Bye for now.